So today I'm just going to show you how the garden looks like before we make changes to it. It's important to say that we actually already worked in the garden yesterday and we worked in the garden last weekend, but that's about it. And I'm going to show you which part are the ones we worked on and which we didn't work on. Obviously I had some photos from before, so not much is lost. Those are my kitchen doors, and from my kitchen doors I am going straight to the garden. To the left the garden extends up to those concrete blocks. There is some drainage and really there isn't much there. Some stones, lots of my pots for plants for the garden I made in front of the house. Obviously this is the back of the house, so you won't see it today. And this is my garden table, which we bought just this summer. If I look to the right, this is the other end of the garden. What you see here is obviously to that side is my living room door. To this side, what we think is a barbecue, or what was meant to be a barbecue, we're not sure this was ever actually used. There is a bit of very bad brickwork, which is I think meant to serve as a boundary to our neighbor. In November I have planted a few pots of spring bulbs, and yes, I have noticed yesterday as I was making video that some of them have actually started coming up. I have one here, and I also have one there. Not sure how many more is there, but I also have one more pot in front of the house where I have them growing already. And just a reminder, it's the beginning of January. So here, as I said, there's a bit of stones. Here we have a massive problem because the soil is mainly clay and it's very, very waterlogged. So this we're gonna have to mix with some gravel, perhaps set up some drainage, not quite sure yet. Just to show you a whole garden in overall, so that you know what size we are talking about. This is the garden as it extends to the back. This wooden fence, that wooden fence, that part, this is the end of the garden. Obviously this is our boundary to the left and this is our boundary to the right. We have obviously a neighbor and a neighbor to the sides, and at the back there is a bit of a forest. Not very much, but we don't have a neighbors from the back. And it's a slope, and it's a big slope. So here we are back to the very bottom of the garden. And oops, what you can see here is a brick wall, a retaining wall. It's important to say that while it's very, very nasty, ugly looking wall, it seems to be holding the earth pretty well, because then above this brick wall we have another retaining wall made out of nicer stones, like square rectangle stones. However, it seems that it doesn't hold, or it didn't hold the earth very well, as it cracked here on the side. I think when we bought it was already cracked, but I can see that it definitely cracked more, and we bought it the end of April, so it's been several months. Okay, here when we bought it, the stairs were already falling apart, and they still are falling apart. Obviously this is in our plans to fix, but we just try to make it tiny bit more stable. Obviously this is not perfect, but will do for the moment. I think what I want to say that all the bricks, all the stones or rubble that you see here, we didn't bring it here. We didn't buy a single building material. All the wood that you see lying around here, this is all as it was when we bought the property. Okay, so there will be many things that we could probably reuse, and there will be many things that we have to get rid of. Let me just adjust the light. So here you can see a bit of retaining wall made out of some dry stones with a bunch of bricks on it, and some railway sleepers as well. don't know how much is visible. which just looks like that. We have also some fence that already fell apart, and unfortunately with the storm more of the fence is broken at present. Here to this side, this is the somewhat of a balcony, not a balcony, but more of a platform, and this is I believe made for like a climber plant and sort of display, which it was here when we bought the property obviously, and we will try to reuse it. Not quite sure yet how and where, but it's in plans. Here is plenty of stones and rubble. Obviously, as I said, this was here. Here you can see a bit of earth. It's not very tall, let's say, planting area. Here we have a tree that I pruned, and if I go to the back, I'll show you. What you can see here is another tree. That was, I have a photo of it somewhere, so I will stick a photo in the video, but it was quite nice. But I have decided it wasn't letting much light to our very dark kitchen, very dark living room, so I have decided to cut it. And as I cut it, a few weeks later, it actually gave some new growth. I didn't kill it, but as winter approached, those died. So I'm pretty sure it's not gonna die, but obviously it's not certain. Interestingly enough, it looks like it's in pot. It looks like it's like it's potted, but obviously I can pull it and push it as much as I want, and this doesn't move. So it has already grown into the earth and beyond the pot. Here is decking. In terms of this decking was full. It was going from here to there, as you can see the fence. Last weekend we literally have taken down a few planks. I will tell you in a second why. But when we bought it, it was all complete and looking alright. I made a design of how I want my new garden to look like, and it didn't include decking. The decking is very slippery during those months and when it's raining, so decking is not my favorite, so I decided to get rid of decking. So we thought we might as well start taking the wooden planks down anyways, and we have discovered that most of those supporting don't know, you don't call them beams, I don't know, but most of those supporting pieces of wood are rotten anyway, so our decking would have collapsed at some point, sooner or later. This pile of wood wasn't there. This pile of wood came from our back fencing, which was just here. I will tell you more about it later. Coming back to the decking, here is another part of decking that is actually out already. It was half out when we got it. It was all rotten underneath, so now it's gone, and we just put a few stones instead, not to slip on the mud. But again, I have a few photos of this, of how it looked before, so I will stick it in the video as well. This part was paneled with this wood, the same way you can see that. We have literally taken it out yesterday because we wanted to see how is the earth fixed behind it. And there inside you can see there is a big wooden beam. The rest of the construction is held by metal poles. There is one metal pole there. There is one metal pole in this pile of wood, and there is one metal pole there next to the stairs. Here we had a nice clean patch of lawn, just grass. we've actually mown the lawn once, and we don't know how it happened and what's going on, but basically most of our grass turned into moss. It's nearly pure moss, and as I said, we mowed the lawn once and we never had to do it again, and that's because of the moss. I'm not entirely bothered about it. This area of the garden was still pretty much as it is. However, I'm not sure how visible this is from the camera, but it's sloping down. So in the summer, when we put a table and we put the chairs, when you put them at the end there, you feel like you're gonna roll straight down into the house. And the same with the table. Table needs additional support on this side, otherwise stuff might fall off the table. So the idea for this piece of land is to level it up, so we don't need to support table and nobody feels like they're gonna roll off the chair. So looking here, we have 2 sheds. There's a shed number 1 and shed number 2. Okay, so I thought a slightly better angle would be easier. So I have some design made in a Google SketchUp. It's not quite finished, but I will stick bits and pieces in this video, so it's perhaps clearer what we want to do. The idea was to keep this shed on this platform as it is. Then all of that, together with the metal shed, would go. Would basically remove it, make some stairs here. Here I would plant another tree in addition to this one. I would make some climber plants going up. And like that, we thought we would save ourselves hassle with actually putting a new shed. But we can see from here, from those 2 metal poles, that this platform made out of railway sleepers is already leaning a bit. That's why we have taken down the wood that was here, just to see how much is this part leaning and how is it supported, given that we would be taking out this one and we would be taking out that one. We were wondering if the whole construction will collapse if you do that. But anyways, if I go up those stairs, which are not the best condition, you will see that we have a metal shed here. One of the first things I said about the metal shed was that it's gonna go. There was and there is plenty of spiders in it, and it's not the best view. And right, so I ran out of the memory on my card again, so I'm not sure where I left off, but let me just go towards here and show you what's on the other side. So on the other side there is view on the shed, and the floor is made out of all sorts of rubbish, including railway sleepers, including some paving stones, rubble. There's some bricks here, and I found a bunch of tiles in there. Here you can probably not see very well because the lighting is not very good. This is a fence, and behind the shed we have like this line of earth which goes behind this shed. There's no actual fencing. This fencing, it's not actually pointing at the boundary of our property. I think the boundary of the property is actually this line here. So the idea was to put the fencing just behind this shed. So we have last weekend we've started digging, and all this wood on that pile comes from this retaining wall that was going along here, but it was already falling apart. Most of it was broken, so we have I know a couple of months ago, probably more, we have taken apart what we could, what was actually lying loosely, and we stick it in the pile there. And last weekend we have digged a hole behind the shed, because what happened is that this retaining wall started leaning, and it was leaning on the shed. I think it was also retaining all the moisture, so all the moisture basically made our shed wood rotten, and this is not keeping anything anymore. So we were thinking that we are going to recycle some of the material and use the decking wood to actually fix the shed behind. And we also did the new roof for the shed because it was leaking at the very end a bit, just there. The shed inside was alright, but there was loads and loads of spider in it. We also had like a bird nest here. So now, even though the shed is pretty much open, regardless whether we put a door on it or not, I basically asked John to clean the shed for me from the spiders, and I have bought 2 products. Well, I have used 2 products to get rid of the spiders. It's more like, actually it's not to get rid of the spiders, it's to prevent spiders from coming in. I bought this product, which worked quite well in terms of preventing them from coming back. And I've also bought another product. I actually bought 6 cans of this product, which is called Spider Killer, and I sprayed again. This product, if you spray it directly on a spider, it's meant to kill it within a few minutes, and if you just spray it on an area, the spiders should be, I don't know, should be dying, should be repelled by the product, so they're not meant to come into the shed if you spray it properly in the areas through which they're coming in. So for the moment I'm standing here, sort of a miracle. I never came here without like good hat and stuff, and there are some spider remains here, but in general it doesn't look too bad, to be honest. Yes, the idea was to leave this shed in. Now we're not sure anymore. Now we might actually need to take down the whole platform and buy a new shed, but we'll think about it.